Fall River, Massachusetts, August 4, 1892. It's a sweltering hot summer morning in a quiet, respectable house on 2nd Street. Something truly terrible is about to be discovered. This isn't just any old true crime story. It's one of America's most enduring and chilling mysteries. The story of Lizzie Borden. The Borden family was well off, but not necessarily well liked. Andrew Borden, the patriarch, was a wealthy property developer and bank president. He was known for being incredibly frugal. Some might even say miserly. The family home, despite their wealth, lacked basic comforts like indoor plumbing and electricity, which were becoming common for people of their status. Living in the house were Andrew, his second wife Abby, and Andrew's 2 adult daughters from his first marriage, Emma and Lizzie. Emma was the older, more reserved sister. Lizzie, then 32, was a complex figure. She was an unmarried woman living at home, which was typical for the time, but she was also active in her community, teaching Sunday school and involved in various church groups. She was seen as a respectable, if perhaps a bit distant, member of society. But beneath this placid surface, the Borden household was simmering with tension. The sisters, Lizzie and Emma, reportedly disliked their stepmother, Abby. They never called her mother, always Mrs. Borden. They believed Abby had married their father for his money, and they were deeply resentful of the gifts he gave to Abby's side of the family, like a house for her half-sister. Money was a constant source of friction. The sisters felt their father was tight-fisted with them while being generous to Abby's relatives. Adding to the unease was the family's maid, Bridget Sullivan, whom the sisters mockingly called Maggie. Bridget lived in the small attic room and was the only other person in the house on that fateful day, aside from the family members. Just a few days before the murders, the entire household, except for Andrew and Abby, had come down with a severe stomach illness. Lizzie was convinced they were being poisoned. She even tried to purchase prussic acid, a deadly poison, from a local drugstore, but the pharmacist refused to sell it to her. This detail would later become a crucial point in the investigation. Was it a paranoid delusion, or was someone genuinely trying to harm the family? This brings us to the morning of August 4th. The day began like any other. Andrew Borden went downtown for his usual business dealings. Emma, the oldest sister, was conveniently out of town visiting friends in nearby Fairhaven. John Morse, the brother of Andrew's first wife, had stayed the night before but had left early that morning to visit other relatives. So, in the house were Andrew, Abby, Lizzie, and Bridget the maid. Bridget Sullivan later testified that around 9 a.m., Abby Borden went upstairs to make the bed in the guest room where John Morse had stayed. Bridget, who still felt unwell from the earlier illness, went outside to wash the windows. Around 10:30 a.m., Andrew Borden returned home from his morning walk. He found the front door was bolted, so he had to knock. Bridget let him in. She said she heard Lizzie laugh from the top of the stairs as she struggled with the lock. Andrew went into the sitting room to lie down for a nap on the sofa. This was the last time anyone saw him alive. Bridget went back to her own room in the attic to rest. And then, around 11:10 a.m., the quiet of the house was shattered. "Maggie, come quick. Father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him." Bridget rushed downstairs to find a frantic Lizzie Borden standing by the back door. In the sitting room lay a horrific scene. Andrew Borden was slumped on the sofa, his face obliterated by what looked like at least 10 savage blows from a hatchet-like weapon. The attack was so brutal, one of his eyes had been split in two. The police were called, and neighbors rushed to the scene. As they tried to comfort a strangely calm Lizzie, a neighbor asked her a question that would change everything. "Lizzie, where is your mother?" Lizzie's reply was chilling. "I don't know. She told me she had received a note to visit a sick friend. I think she went out." But a search of the house soon revealed a second, even more gruesome discovery. Upstairs, in the guest bedroom, lay the body of Abby Borden. She was face down, her head smashed by an estimated 19 blows from the same type of weapon. Based on the state of the blood, which was dark and congealed, the coroner determined she had been killed first, likely an hour and a half before her husband. This meant that while Abby lay murdered upstairs, someone was still in the house. Andrew came home, talked with Lizzie, and lay down for his nap, all while his wife's body was just a few feet above him. The idea that an outside intruder could kill Abby, wait around for 90 minutes, and then kill Andrew before vanishing without a trace seemed almost impossible. The police investigation began immediately, and suspicion quickly fell on the only person who seemed to have the opportunity: Lizzie Borden. Her story was inconsistent. First she said she was in the barn loft looking for fishing sinkers when her father was killed. Then she said she was eating pears. She claimed to have heard no struggle, no cry for help. Her calm and composed demeanor struck many as unnatural for someone who had just discovered her father brutally murdered. No murder weapon was ever definitively found. In the basement, police discovered a hatchet head that was suspiciously clean and missing its handle. The prosecution would later argue that this was the murder weapon, and its handle had been burned. And speaking of burning, a few days after the murders, a friend of Lizzie's witnessed her burning a dress in the kitchen stove. Lizzie claimed she was destroying it because it was stained with paint. But the prosecution, and public opinion, believed she was destroying a blood-stained dress, the one she wore during the murders. The evidence was piling up. but it was all circumstantial. There were no bloody footprints, no eyewitnesses, and no confession. Despite the lack of direct evidence, the authorities felt they had enough to arrest her. The quiet, church-going spinster was charged with the double murder of her father and stepmother. The trial of Lizzie Borden began in June 1893, and it was a national sensation. It was the O.J. Simpson trial of its day, with newspapers across the country covering every single detail. The prosecution laid out its case. Lizzie hated her stepmother. She was obsessed with money. She had tried to buy poison, and she burned a dress that could have been evidence. They presented the handleless hatchet head as the murder weapon, but Lizzie's defense team was brilliant. They portrayed her as a gentle, Christian woman, incapable of such a brutal act. They tore into the prosecution's case, highlighting the lack of physical evidence. They argued that the hatchet head didn't perfectly match the wounds. They brought up the mysterious illness, suggesting that perhaps an unknown enemy of Andrew Borden was responsible. Crucially, Lizzie's own testimony from the inquest, which was full of contradictions, was ruled inadmissible. This was a major blow to the prosecution, and Lizzie herself never took the stand in her own defense. Her lawyers knew that her strange, detached personality might not play well with the jury. The defense's masterstroke was their closing argument. They painted a picture of Lizzie as a frail, devoted daughter, and asked the all-male jury, could a woman, a lady of her standing, really commit such a heinous, bloody crime with an axe? In the very proper Victorian era, the idea was almost unthinkable to many. After just 90 minutes of deliberation, the jury came back with their verdict, not guilty. The courtroom erupted. Lizzie had been acquitted, but she would never be free. The court of public opinion had already convicted her. She was ostracized by the society of Fall River. Children would follow her in the street, chanting that infamous rhyme. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. Lizzie and her sister Emma inherited their father's considerable fortune. They bought a large modern mansion in a fashionable part of town and named it Maplecroft, but the sisters' relationship eventually soured, and Emma moved out in 1905, never speaking to Lizzie again. No one knows for sure why, but rumors swirled that it was over Lizzie's friendship with an actress, Nance O'Neill. Lizzie lived out the rest of her life as a wealthy but lonely outcast in Fall River. She died in 1927 at the age of 66. By a strange coincidence, her sister Emma died just 9 days later. They were buried in the family plot, next to their father, their stepmother, and their biological mother. So, if Lizzie didn't do it, who did? Over the years, countless theories have emerged. Some point to Emma Borden, suggesting she secretly returned to town and committed the murders, with Lizzie covering for her. Others suspect John Morse, the uncle who had conveniently stayed the night before and had a weak alibi. Some even theorize it was Bridget the maid, perhaps in a rage over her treatment by the family. There's even a theory about an illegitimate son of Andrew Borden seeking revenge. But none of these theories hold up to scrutiny any better than the case against Lizzie. Every path leads to a dead end, with more questions than answers. The Lizzie Borden case is a perfect storm of family drama, greed, and horrific violence, all wrapped in a mystery with no solution. The Borden house still stands on 2nd Street. It's now a museum and a bed and breakfast, where brave guests can sleep in the rooms where the bodies were found. The legend of Lizzie Borden has become a permanent part of American folklore, a chilling reminder that sometimes the most shocking violence can happen in the quietest of homes, and the truth can be lost forever. What do you think? Was she a cold, calculating killer who got away with it, or a victim of circumstance forever haunted by a crime she didn't commit? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this dive into history's great mysteries, be sure to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.